Hello and welcome to the Debunking Fulbright Myths webinar. My name's Alex, and today I'd like to go through and try and dispel some of the myths that we hear about the Fulbright Scholarship program. So these are some of the common misconceptions that we hear, and I'd just like to go through them one by one and perhaps try and dispel some of these myths that may be creating cognitive barriers to people applying for the scholarship. So the first one, I'm not a researcher. It's a very common one we hear quite often. Fulbright scholarships are, in fact, open to people proposing programs of study as well as professional development and training courses. So really, as long as you're looking at your project through the lens of some kind of bilateral Australian-American relevance, then you can really propose whatever kind of program that you'd like. Let's look at some examples. So last year we had Mariam Carloon, who was seeking to undertake a Master of Laws at Columbia University, focusing on public international law and refugee law. So what she did was, in her application, she looked at some of the programs that had been introduced in the US regarding refugee law, collaborative programs, and regional cooperation. And she talked about how that kind of shared knowledge might be useful for similar situations in Australia. From this year's cohort, we had Anna Evans, who was seeking to undertake a master's program in technology and policy at MIT, and her focus was on renewable energy. So she discussed in her application how the US was a really good choice for renewable energy research and how a collaborative knowledge exchange would have great value for the sector in Australia. Her program is quite unique. It's the Anne Wexler Scholarship, which is one of our most generous. It provides full tuition funding for a 2-year master's program in the US, including travel and living expenses. So as I said before, the Scholar Awards also allow professionals to potentially undertake programs of professional development and training in the US. And this year we had David Ireland, who received the Fulbright Scholarship in Nonprofit Leadership, sponsored by the Origin Foundation, supported by the Australian Scholarships Foundation. And he was seeking to undertake a professional development program at Stanford University. So what he did was he identified potential colleagues, relevant facilities, and useful training courses in the US. He even described potential tangible outcomes from him undertaking this course, and his application was successful because it did apply the outcomes and the value to the bilateral relationship between Australia and the US. So as you can see, Fulbright scholarships are not just for researchers, they're also for study as well as for training and professional development. So the next myth, I'm not a scientist. It's a very common misconception that Fulbright scholarships are just for scientists, when in fact they're open to all disciplines. We've had Fulbright scholars in the humanities, design, social sciences, even the creative and performing arts, so that there truly are limitless possibilities with what you can do and what you can achieve with a Fulbright scholarship. So an example, in 2010, we had one of our US postgraduate scholars, Christian Keshes. She was looking at studying the harp at the Canberra School of Music at the Australian National University, because she really wanted to focus in on practical training and solo performance in the harp. Also in 2010, Sarah Holland Batt proposed studying a Master of Fine Arts in Poetry at New York University. And she's now a celebrated Australian poet with multiple award-winning published works. In 2014, we had Josh Dunn, who was really passionate about the acoustic guitar and its use in the jazz scene. So he proposed a program of study at William Patterson University, just a great music university in New Jersey, and had a very successful program. So as you can see, Fulbright scholarships are definitely not just for scientists. I'm not an HD student is the next myth. So of course, academic achievement is valued within the Fulbright program. However, our selection committees tend to look at the whole picture. So if you're not fully confident with your academic track record, you can always shore up your application using other aspects, including the personal statement, where you can talk about your personal aspirations. We have an interview stage where you can demonstrate your ambassadorial skills, and both of these are weighted equally to academic record. The selection committees really look for achievement relative to means. So, similar to this myth, another one is that you have to be from an Ivy League or Sandstone or Group of Eight university, when in fact, we're looking for students, scholars, and academics from all across Australia. So, really, if you're demonstrating that you're committed and passionate about your research, your academic track record is not going to be the be all and end all. So the next one, I can't afford tuition fees. This is quite a common one for particularly Australians because tuition fees in the US tend to be quite high. So Fulbright scholarships now actually cover a portion of tuition fees, which make it a lot more affordable. And our placement services can, in fact, even arrange for fee discounts or waivers, which can be very, very useful. Our new program, the Fulbright Future Scholarships, we've just launched this year, and they in fact cover 100% of tuition. So they're really generous scholarships that we've been able to introduce this year thanks to a generous philanthropic donation from the Kinghorn Foundation. I don't have a publications record. So this is another barrier to applying for many grants, is that a requirement is extensive publications history. And the Fulbright program, we're open to diverse, non-traditional, non-academic career pathways and metrics. So if you're a researcher who's been involved in industry, we'll definitely consider looking at industry-specific milestones and achievements. And we, of course, welcome interdisciplinary research. So if you've had perhaps a non-traditional pathway through your career, you don't have the most extensive publications record, please be aware that we do consider these alternative metrics for measuring excellence and success. I'm a mid-career professional. So another common myth that professionals can't apply for Fulbright scholarships, when of course, as I mentioned before, we can definitely offer professionals opportunities for research and training courses in the US. And we highly value these bilateral professional connections. So definitely if you're in the private sector and you're considering doing some research or some training in the US, please submit an application because we'll definitely consider you. So these are some of the most common myths that we hear. If you have any other ones, we'd definitely love to talk about them and hopefully dispel them. And we encourage you to get in touch with us. So feel free to send us an email at fulbright@fulbright.org.au. Give us a call on 0262604460, or visit our website for some more webinars. And we've got many FAQs and helpful advice for how to apply for the scholarship. So thanks a lot for your time today, and we look forward to seeing your application.